I brought the cameras to a fantastic place called Messingham Sands today near Scunthorpe. This is a fantastic place for catching carp on a pellet waggler. Pellet waggler fishing is all about casting constantly and fishing in among the bait. I've used our normal carp waggler rods and found that once I wanted to step up to slightly heavier line, maybe 5, even 6 pounds, that I was having problems reaching the target area. After a conversation with our technical department, we looked into building rods with bigger rings, not the massive ones that you'd have on a carp rod, but slightly bigger than our original carp waggler rod. I set up the pellet waggler rod and our original carp waggler rod, two identical setups. The distance was 20% difference on the cast, simply because there's slightly more power in the rod, more power in the butt, and the oversized eyes made it easy to cast 20% further than our original carp waggler rod. The next thing I wanted to address was I wanted some extra power behind the tip of the rod, so when you're whacking a waggler out to distance, it's easy to do. Now, just because I've made the butt of the rod slightly stiffer, it doesn't mean you have to fish with really heavy hook lengths. Today, I've just fished with an 0.16 hook length. And to be honest, I've not been broke by one single fish, and I've had quite a few decent fish. And here at Messingham, the fish do fight really hard. The rod has got a lot less eyes than our original carp waggler rod. It's got 13 rings on the original rod, but we dropped it down to 11 on the 12 foot. And of course, this causes less friction through the eyes, again aiding casting. The positioning of the eyes is quite critical because we still wanted the action of the rod to work well when playing carp. The rods come in 3 different lengths, a 12 foot for fishing out at distance, an 11 for slightly shorter distances, and also a 10. The 10 I found brilliant when you're wanting to catch carp that are on the surface, when you're casting at carp. With this rod, you can fish with much smaller floats, and I fish with the small mini mugglers and slightly lighter line, just a 4 pound main line. But of course, you can cast a long way with even such a small muggler type float. And this is paramount when you're looking to catch fish off the surface. A bigger float spooks the fish. And of course, when you've got a small dumpy float on, you can land just before the carp and catch these fish that's right on the surface. The rods are slightly more powerful in the top end as well. This extra power in the rod helps you to control fish when they're near the landing net. These fish here at Messingham fight particularly hard, and often they try to get under the platforms. But with these rods, you can keep them away from any snags close by and easier to land the fish. Here at Messingham, there's 8 lakes spread over 66 acres of land. It's a terrific place to come fishing, and it's well stocked with all sorts of fish. There's lots of skimmers, there's F1s, but the main thing that I fish for today is the carp, and there's lots of them. They've got a well-stocked tackle shop on site, and this morning I just purchased a couple of bags of their fishery pellets, just 8 mils, and that's all I've used today for fishing with the pellet waggler. The pellet waggler setup is very simple. I've just used a 5 pound main line, and then what I've done, I've added a float stop onto the line, a waggler weight, the float, another waggler weight, and a stop below. Below this, I just have a 30 centimetre hook length of 0.16 to a size 16 hook and a pellet band. It doesn't come any simpler than that. Feeding 3 pellets constantly has been the best way to catch these fish today, because you're never adding too much bait. You're making the fish compete in the upper levels. This style of fishing is a real busy way of fishing. And using these rods today, I've had a fantastic catch of carp, maybe 70 or 80 pound in a very short session. This is Messingham Sands at its best. What a place to come fishing.